So, gonna do a little update on my Decipher's Lord of the Rings TCG collection. Um, we've gone through on the channel now. Oh shoot, I was gonna change this.
Yeah.
And
You could go change if you want to while I show something else off.
that's so random.
I don't know. Well, say what you were going to say and then.
Unprofessional.
I'm sorry.
Greetings, founder. Greetings, Tank. Good to see you. Yeah. So I've opened 2 booster boxes of the first set of this game on the channel here, and I've been using those as the base to build out a set of the first set.
Oh no!
And honestly, I did the. We've had
Hello,
amazing
Nicholas.
luck. That went exactly as to plan in one respect, and horrible luck in another. So I'm not quite sure how to proceed with my set anymore. But it is what it is. One thing I do like about this is that all the main characters and keycards like the One Ring, they have both a common and a rare version. So even if you're not getting the powerful rares, there's still a very playable alternative at common to build your decks with. So there's that at least.
Founder says nice dilemma.
Yeah. So basically, let me explain how this is played out. In a booster box, you get 36 packs. So I managed to get my hands on 2 sequentially numbered booster boxes, hoping that would reduce the number of doubles pulled between the 2. And it did. In 36 packs, out of 2 boxes, that's 72 rares, discounting foils. 0 duplication of rares between the 2 boxes. So there are 121 rares in the set, 72 of them, no doubles. I did get some doubles from the 2 starter decks I got for the promo cards. The rares that were in those did double up with the cards in the boxes. But as far as the 2 boxes went, no doubles whatsoever. That leaves 121 minus 79. Shoot, what was it? 48, 49. Basically, what was it? No, 50. Yeah, 49 cards that I'm missing for rares. That part is great, just with the raw numbers. I couldn't have hoped for better. The problem comes in which rares I'm missing, because the rare One Ring didn't pull it. A lot of the other cards, I had ideas in my head for how I was going to build a deck. Now, deck building with this game is interesting because they do it by blocks. You can do fellowship blocks, so based on the first movie, which is the first 3 sets, or you can do an overlapping one with that in 2 towers, or just 2 towers, or you can do sort of overlapping into Return of the King, or just Return of the King, or the whole movie series, or when they did the reboot after that for the game, you can build from that point on. But you can't just free form it. There's no sort of vintage category where you can just play with anything, and there might be some restricted cards. That doesn't exist in this game. So I did get a couple of good pulls. I got Legolas Greenleaf here, who's a very playable Legolas in just about any format, and very nice card. I got a few others. But I was hoping for my Fellowship block deck. I kind of was planning to build a Fellowship block deck and a movie block deck. So one that can draw from all 3 films for the first section, and one that can draw just from the first movie. And for the first movie, I was going to run Moria Orcs. Now, the big baddie from the first set in Moria Orcs is the Cave Troll. The Balrog didn't show up till set 2. And I didn't get the Cave Troll. I also didn't get the, was it Moria Swarm or Moria Armory? Like the 2 most powerful condition event support cards, basically, for that faction, which are some of the most expensive cards in the set to get as singles. So there's that. Yeah, give me a second. I'll be right back.
I can sneak in here. Hi, everybody. We were just a quick show you what we've been doing the last couple days. We've been making a Christmas gift for Grandma, Grandpa, Uncle Dave, and Auntie Christabel. These are coasters. I still have to seal these, but they're just made of wood. We have 3 more to do. We're actually partway done one. So I like this one. This is mine's my favorite. So just I figured while Barry was quickly changing his shirt there, I would show you.
Van Gogh themed diamond art coasters.
Yeah.
They're pretty.
So anyways, we have do you want to show the other 2 still? You can't really see what they're hard to make out with the numbers on them and letters. These are the other 2 that we've not even started yet. So just a fun Christmas gift. Anyways, back to Papa Spokat.
Yeah. And we're probably going to flip the camera angle anyway, so this was a moot point. But
hey, Trainer Glenn. Hey, Founder. Did I say hey? I'm sorry.
But like I said, I had plans in my head for at least the beginnings of ideas to build some decks out of this. And
thanks, Pam.
Working on those, but how to proceed has gotten a wrench thrown into it.
Hey, Just Pika, how you doing?
I do have another box of Fellowship of the Ring, which I wasn't planning on opening. I was planning on keeping one sealed. I could open it and hope to fill out some of those holes. Even if I, for some miracle, got no duplication again, it wouldn't be enough to finish the set. It might get some. Yes, I did.
You changed shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's worth doing. It could be a way to get, if I'm lucky, a couple of those more expensive cards or cards that I wanted for a deck. But it's a lot less cost effective because my first 2 boxes were so efficient. They were also efficient in that I filled out every common and uncommon card. There's no gaps in either the commons or the uncommons at all. It's only rares that I'm missing now. So that's another factor to just, at that point, it becomes less efficient to crack packs to fill out sets. So I'm still hemming and hawing, deciding whether I'm going to take that approach at one day or not, or focus on singles, or just let it stand as is, as a good sampling of the set, and it's just missing some of the key cards.
Work on that one while you're doing your video.
So I'll go through, just thumb through the pages here quickly to show you the progress for the set. And from there, I'll show you a few things I picked up to augment and for deck building from other sets. So here's my front page, and you can see the only card missing here is the rare version of the One Ring. A little bit disappointing of a gap. You turn it over, and we're into dwarves, and yeah, I'm missing 3 dwarf cards there. Next page, another dwarf card missing. So overall, I'm averaging a card or 2 missing per page. Then we're into elves, 2 cards missing. Card missing here for this elf page. The back, another 2 missing, but then the next page just down to, oh no, there's still 2 missing because there's,
oh, I should put
missing both sides there.
There.
And 2 missing there.
Forgot to put live chat on my iPad.
2 on this page. So it's a very sort of uniform throughout until we get to, we're getting into the free men. A couple missing there.
And
until you get to the location section. Oh, here's the first page that I had completely filled out. No big characters or anything, so.
Dump some diamonds in the
1 missing up there.
In the bottom.
I did get some decent of the Saruman orcs. There's Lurtz and is pretty good. The back, 2 missing up top.
That doesn't look straight.
The Sauron orcs I got a fair bit of. And then we're into Mori orcs. And you can see right off the top, 4 cards missing on the first page. Another one missing on the back. Another one missing up here. And then another one up here. And some more missing on this page. And then we're into, actually, the Nazgul. I've got 7 of the ring wraiths, I think.
Viewership went up when I started showing off my diamond art, and then it went down.
Yeah, well.
That's funny.
So there's those 2. The Nazgul, there are no common ones, so that makes them a little bit different to play with.
Ooh,
for deck building. I think those 2 are the other 2. Ulair or whatever they are, and both would be rare. I'll pick up the pace a little bit here, because then we're into the Moria orcs.
I wonder how accurate
The
this
hobbits.
is when it says how many viewers we have, because I don't know if it counts me as a viewer.
Yeah. So again, I got the common Frodo, but not the rare version. I did get the rare Sam, so I got common and rare Sam. There's Rosie Cotton, a lot of the main ones. Merry and Pippin, I didn't get rares of either. And then we're into locations. I think 1 of each site number up to 9. 1 to 9, there's a common version of each one, and then all the rest are uncommons. So that was the first section that I sort of got completed, was those. And then there's the 2 promo cards that come with the 2 starter decks, which I picked up those fresh out of decks just so I'd have them. Interestingly, I noticed with the 2 decks, one of them, all the cards that came out of it had the little, you see at the bottom of the card there, next to decipher, the little 1 in the far bottom right corner, and the circle. So that's a first edition printing. Apparently they did a reprint at some point, because the other deck, I don't think any of the cards had that. So I've sort of got mixed stuff I've gone through, and cards that weren't first edition, I included a first edition version. I did pretty good on the foils in those 2 boxes. Got a nice foil Pillars of the Kings there. Foils in this set always look good. There's Balin's Tomb foil. Gimli was probably my best. That's one of my rare foils I pulled in the first box, I think. So that was a very nice pull to get a foil Gimli. Dwarven Axe, nice, it goes with him. I did get 2 foil rares in the second box and 7 rares total, so we came out ahead on that one in terms of, you usually expect to get 6 foils in a box. So I got an Orc Banner. I got Lost to the Goblins as the 2 rares. And then the Goblin Patrol Troop, the Rings of Oppression. Actually, some of these were from the first box.
Was there only the one store that we ever found this stuff at in the city?
I've only ever, since we started looking for it, which was only like maybe 2 years ago at most.
I wonder if they still have them.
I don't know. We haven't checked
check
in a while. We've only found one store that had any on the shelf, and it was, they had a box of Return of the King, they had a box of Siege of Gondor, they had a box of Ents of Fangorn, and then they had a box of starters of Fellowship of the Ring.
Everything's pricey,
but yeah, it's all expensive.
Because rent is expensive.
So we didn't look into that. I don't know if chat's frozen or if it just looks that way, or maybe we just lost interest. It's not moving
on here, so
anyway,
I don't think it's.
So that's basically what we got out of the boxes. So now we're into some cards I picked up.
Roll call. No, just kidding.
Cards I picked up that I thought would be useful for building decks. So, or were just interesting to me. There's a fair bit of that too. So this is from, you can see at the bottom there, the number 2. This is from the Mines of Moria set, and here's Glowin. So Glowin featured in the Hobbit films, and he's Gimli's dad, so he wasn't too expensive. I had to grab a Glowin.
I always thought it was
just because.
pronounced Gloin. It just
Owen and Glowin and
I know, but I always thought it was pronounced Gloin. I don't know why. Maybe just because.
Maybe.
That's how it looks.
And there's Gimli's pipe, also to go with Gimli. Mines of Moria is also where the Balrog turned up. So I got the Balrog's weapons, the sword, and the whip of many thongs. And there were common and uncommon versions of the Balrog. So I grabbed one of each of those. Durin's Bane is the common version. While you can spot the Balrog, discard all other minions. So this one has to fight alone, is the downside to the common one.
Trainer Glenn says, so cool.
And the rare version of the Balrog can fight with other minions.
So our chat's not frozen.
Discard the Balrog if not underground. But yeah, you have to spot an orc in order to play this one. So
because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, says Trainer Glenn.
Yeah, me too. And I think the films were generally done pretty good.
Did we show
Certainly better than the animated one.
Did we show them that on the wall?
I don't know. We might have had it down here at one point. Anyway, I grabbed a Goblin Bowman, Goblin Flankers.
Of the Middle Earth on the wall.
I picked up some more Hobbits because for a while I was thinking I was going to be playing fairly heavy Hobbits stuff. So I got Bilbo Baggins, well-spoken, gentle Hobbit.
Did you watch Lord of the Rings? Is Trainer Glenn or the Rings
of Power? The Rings of Power. I did not subject myself to sit through that whole thing.
He thought
I don't have a lot of time to sit down and watch a long series like that. And from what I heard about the pacing and the consistency of the storytelling with the books, it just didn't seem like it was going to be worth the effort for me to track down,
they changed
get a subscription. Or do we have a subscription?
It's on Prime.
Anyway, no, I haven't gotten around sitting down and watching through it. I think there are just several things in it that would grate at me a little too much.
Especially being such a fan of the books and even knowing like his appendices and all that stuff, knowing the behind the scenes stuff.
I got they came out with a different version of Frodo in pretty much each set, I think. And so this is, grabbed that one. I've heard that this one is pretty good, actually. The cost of each artifact possession and tail from the Hobbit faction played on Frodo is -1. So, cheaper to equip them up. Then there's new versions of Merry and Pippin, just for variety's sake, and Sam. Although the Sam from Fellowship of the Ring, the common one, is one of the better Sams they ever printed, from what I've heard. Frodo's pipe. Again, if we're doing a pipe theme, Millelot Brandybuck as an ally, and Old Noakes. And I grabbed a few of the extra sites too, because they looked like they were interesting or might be handy options. So there's the party field, Hopton Woods, Town Center, House of Elrond, Great Chasm. This is again adds another underground site, so another option for a place to play the Balrog other than Site 5, the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. Holland, Caras Galadhorn, the Great River, and the Gates of Argonath. Again, because foils are so rare, cards that you'd see fairly regularly, like sites, also they tend to look really good as foils. I wish I had more of them. But Waste of Amon Moyo. Practically everyone was invited. This looked like a handy card. Exert Bilbo to play a Hobbit from your draw deck, so you can go find any Hobbit, which is pretty nice. And then a Wizard's Staff. And then from the third set, I grabbed the Legolas. This is the promo version that came in one of the starter decks again. I think the Gimli was in the last page as well. There's an Arwen.
I like the Lord of the Rings movies.
Caligan.
The Hobbits
is an
movies,
ally.
I enjoyed them enough, but there's a lot of parts that I didn't like, even though I hadn't read the books at that point.
File of Galadriel. Northneck Berserker. Shield of Boromir. The minion archery total is -1, so archery is something which can be quite a pain. And this is again a promo Boromir. You can add 2 to heal him, so looked interesting. And this card here is one of the ones that was one of the keys to my thinking for how I was going to try to build my Fellowship Block deck. Build a pony. Bear must be a hobbit, so I was already thinking of leaning fairly heavily on hobbits, but not exclusively so. I did like, you know, Legolas or Aragorn or Gandalf. Wanted to get some of those big guns in there too. Bear must be a hobbit companion. The shadow number of each site is -1, but you have to discard build a pony when at an underground site, which in Fellowship Block is a little bit of a downside because you have to go through Moria at some point. So you can play build a pony before or after, but it's unique, and once it's discarded, that's it for poor Bill. So. But it's a card that I wanted to get in there because energy denial or resource denial is a big strategy in a lot of games. And it's often successful. I had a friend playing Pokemon who would play, you know, Dragonair in the first round of the like base set or whatever. It was a Pokemon which had an attack which could remove energy. They'd also play energy removals and super energy removals. It was annoying, but it was very effective. For Magic the Gathering, we would play land destruction. And so that sort of ability to restrict your opponent's force production, even in Star Wars or things like that, it can be very, very helpful and effective strategy. And if you stack up cards that have that effect, I thought it could be very good. And I found a few others that I thought would play into that quite nicely. This is another one. This is one of the better Aragorns I can tell from Fellowship Block. And again, it came from that set. It was rare. This is one of the ones that I actually had to pay a couple more dollars for, which is why it's not just thrown in the binder, because I'm planning on using it in the deck for sure. There are ways to make sure you get Aragorn out. If you're using your starting Fellowship with Frodo, he takes up all your points. But there's other ways to find him. Hadn't figured that part out yet.
I can't imagine anybody else but him being Aragorn.
Yeah.
He just did such a good job.
So I've heard that among some play groups, this guy's actually been either edited or banned or something. But just as it was printed, this looks like a solid card to work on that theme. So I think you'll like. If you like the movies, I think you'll like the Rings of Power. I like some of the aesthetic, because from what I've heard, they've done a decent job with the music, some of the costumings and scenes. But they don't do well in terms of scale, like people traveling from place to place. They don't sort of show the time frames that would
it's also
take
like
very
getting
well.
like Galadriel should have been married by that point, and
there's a lot of characters that seem to be missing inexplicably. So there's that sort of thing too. Maybe they'll clear some of that up in the future. I don't know, but for now, there just seems to be a few oddities there. But anyway, I don't really want to get into that.
It's fine.
Too much. Anyway, each time the Fellowship moves during the Fellowship phase, remove 2 from the Shadow Pool. So this plays well with reducing the shadow number for each site you go to from Bill. And again, I found other cards which have similar effects too. So that was sort of the base for the idea of the deck I wanted to build for Fellowship Block, for the light side. And then again, I was hoping the dark side, I could use Moria Orcs, which are good at just churning out a whole pile of orcs very cheaply. And then throwing out maybe something like a Cave Troll, which I didn't get, or one of the Balrogs. But I've had some wrinkles in that. Then I picked up a few odds and ends for movie block. And I'll get into what I've also, because I did open basically a booster box of the Two Towers. A booster box less 6 packs, and then I also got some of the pre-constructed starter decks. Actually, all the pre-constructed starter decks for a Two Towers block. And I've opened some of the, what do they call them? Draft packs, which each come with a rare as well. So, but this was a Frodo from set 10. This is the promo one that came with the starter deck. And every other Frodo that was printed up to this point that I'm aware of had resistance of 10. So this one, instead of having an other second ability, just has resistance of 12. So it takes 2 more corruption to for him to lose that way. So that's potentially quite useful. So I picked up one of him and one of Sam, who's also promotional. Ring bound. Sam has strength +1 for each Hobbit companion you can spot. So he can get a little bit stronger than some. And again, if Frodo dies, he can become the ring bearer. So I grabbed those two, and I was able to find a place that had, for a fair price, the pack of Elvish cards that came with the Return of the King anthology. So these were some of the sort of chase cards from Return of the King block that they released printed in Elvish. And you would get one set of these in with the anthology box. Now, the anthology boxes themselves from Return of the King had a bunch of packs from Reflections in them. So they were quite popular to crack. So some people had packs of these cards sitting around. So I was able to get a good deal on a couple of them. So I put a set in here just to show, because each set, each of the blocks anyway, had an anthology box you could get. I just got the cards from the Return of the King one, but there's Shelob, there's Aragorn once he's crowned king. So this one costs 5 to deploy. The stats on Shelob are all 8s, so you can sort of figure out the Elvish characters a bit and backtrack and figure out who's what. There's the King of the Dead. There's good old Peter Jackson playing a pirate. I've heard this is a good card if you're playing the Corsairs of Umbar as a theme as well. There's another one of the people from whatever, someplace, who's involved in making the movie. I forget which one is who's who for some of them. There's Éomer. A couple of the Nazgul.
I wish in the movies they'd gone more into
Gothmog and
the story between
Rond, Pippin,
Boromir and
Merry, and
Éowyn.
Sam.
That would have been nice.
That could have been nice. And then I've got a few odd promos in here, and again, this is just to out the collection.
Boromir.
My idea with this
Faramir,
binder,
that's a brother.
I did pick up a few cards for deck building, which got thrown in here from the Fellowship block.
It's Faramir, not Boromir. I said the wrong brother, didn't I?
Probably, yeah.
Sorry.
But these were just some other odds and ends I threw in to sort of fill out some of the oddities that came in between. And this binder is meant to be just sort of an overview of the game as a whole, basically. So it starts with Fellowship of the Ring, the first set, and then I end with what is it called? Age's End or whatever. The set that they came out with for a last goodbye when they were shutting down, and just released basically a little box set. So we got that anyway. So this was one when the movie was coming out for Return of the King. This was a promo card which you could get. They were giving them out. Redeem your movie ticket for Return of the King for a free booster pack. Go to their website to find a participating store near you while supplies last. Limit 1 per customer. And this was sort of a coupon or a voucher advertising that. And this is the picture of the One Ring from the Two Towers block. It's even got the little number there. but it's got their scheduled releases
That's a
going
cool
from
picture.
that point. So you had Siege of Gondor was supposed to come out after Return of the King. Then Mount Doom to finish out the block. Then Shadows, Black Rider, and Bloodlines was their first block doing their reset and rule update and change. And then they were going to have Rise of Saruman, Treachery and Deceit. The Hunters, Rise of Saruman, Treachery and Deceit would be the second block with the reset, and then finishing off with the Great Eye, She Loves Lair, and Age's End. Interestingly, this isn't how it happened. They had a couple of other bonus sets that got thrown in there, starting with Reflections, which came in at number 9 instead of Mount Doom, and Mount Doom was number 10, and it started to push things back. And they got struggling as the company started to go downhill, and they had to lay people off. A lot of these later sets just didn't happen. Treachery and Deceit was the last main set released, and then they turned Age's End into that little final box set that they released, basically. But it's a nice piece of history for where they were planning to go, and most of these sets got made, but Age's End was changed into something different, and She Loves Lair and the Great Eye never materialized. Rise of Saruman, Treachery of Deceit were very rushed sets and very small print runs. Lots of powerful cards, but not the best thought through. So here's another promo. She Loved Last Child of Ungoliant. Black Rider promo. Some other promo cards, and here's one from... No. Okay, this one is from set 11, so this is after the rules reset again. And then we're into some cards that I got, because I did get starter decks for Black Rider, which was the second set 12, after the reprint. So I did end up with some cards from there. And here's the third version of the Balrog that I've got. Interesting. So this Balrog can deploy to non-underground sites, but it gets bonuses when it is underground. So that's an interesting distinction. Got Faramir as another one of my rares. Troll's Keyword. And then Saruman was one of the special cards that came in the starter deck. Again, Tom Cotton, Farmer Maggot. Different versions of the Hobbits. And I kept all the different locations, because the other ones had site numbers. These ones did not. These ones were basically categorized as just a 1, a 2, or a 3, and you could play them in any order, except your first 3 deploys had to be basically a 0 and 2 1s. Then your next ones had to be 2s, but it could be any 2s. And your last ones had to be 3s, but they could be any 3s. Something like that. They changed up the rules substantially. I also got the Mouth of Sauron deck, so that was the promo card that came, or special card that came with it. Then I've got a few cards in here from Reflections. Reflections rares was you got 2 foils in a pack, and they could be rare or rare plus. And the rares are pretty dirt cheap, so I grabbed a few that interested me. I only picked up 1 rare plus because it looked like it would be good for what I was planning to do for my movie block deck. So I got Lindir, the Ring of Retribution, which gives +1 to strength and vitality, which is a nice little bonus there. And some Elven Rope. The 3 Elven Rings, 1 of each of those I grabbed. I grabbed the 2 Palantir. There's the Horn of the Mark. And a Huron, because I really liked the idea of perhaps trying the Ents. But hadn't settled on that by any means. Ents are a rather unusual strategy, unlike the others. The energy restricting strategy, the Ents tend to flood the enemy with energy and hope they can't use it all. So these are the foils I pulled out of my Two Towers box that I had opened. Most of, like I said, I kept 6 packs for my variety pack box. So I've only opened 4 foils out of the box so far, so statistically there might be 2 left in those 6 packs that I didn't open. But I got a common Dunlending Robber. I got Night Without End as my rare, which is an Elven event. And Defend It and Hope, an event for the Numenorians, or men of the West, as a common. And then I got a Sight as an uncommon, the Rittermark, as a foil. And then I've got a set in here of, shoot, I really should have looked up the title, but basically it was that last box set. They had a set of foils that you could get, and I got one of those and opened them all up and put them in there. They made a keyword fellowship for the fellowship characters for all of them. And so I've got the first release and the last release, and you can see here the numbers, if this will focus. Come on. 19. So that little card was anticipating 18 sets. They actually got to 19 with some special releases, but didn't complete all the sets that they were planning. So there's Army Long Trained, Arwen, Legolas, Gandalf, Sternwords, Gollum, Smeagol, Aragorn, Boromir. And again, though, what I didn't realize when I was first picking this up was just how their different blocks work for deck construction. So these are neat cards to have for collectibles, but I don't think there's any way I could make any sort of competitive Shadows era or Hunters era type deck. These all would fit into that category as opposed to movie block. So this doesn't seem feasible, but they are neat cards, and it's neat to have as a collector piece for the final release, what they came up with as a last goodbye. And there's, again, the final version of the Balrog that they printed. So, while at an underground site, skip the archery phase, the maneuver phase, and the Balrog cannot be assigned to skirmish companions of strength 6 or less. So, very threatening enemy. Unlike the tentacles, I've heard they're really hard to do much with. Strong tentacle. And there's the Watcher in the Water. And there's a pet troll. And Troll of the Deep. These 2 troll cards. Again, the little bug in the corner here. These were designs that came up. They didn't feature in the movie, but were designs that were developed by Weta Workshop for stuff related to the movie. Basically, they didn't get used, and you can see they've reworked the different teams by this point as well. At least, especially for the bad guys. There's Éomer, Éowyn. There's Sauron's Might, Frodo, Merry, Pippin, Rabbit Stew, and then wrapping it up with Sam, Lurtz, in Twilight, and a bunch of Nazgul. And Kea and Lamentia both look very similar. Nertia, Troldea, and the Witch King on his fierce mount there. So yeah, that's my little collection binder. But, like I said, a lot of it I was angling towards making decks with. And
Tanks back. Yay, Tanks back.
Thanks for coming back, Tank. So,
Me too,
I'll
Tank.
go over quickly what else I had to work with here and some of my thoughts on decks. So this little section here with sleeves on them are the rares that I pulled from Two Towers, mostly. I've got a few others that, before I started putting them in here, ended up elsewhere, but this is mainly that.
You had to deal with the most thing fun. Oh my goodness, I remember having a cat and mice. Not always fun.
So I got the Hillman Horde. I actually did okay with some of the Dunlending cards. I got some of the key ones. One of the cards that isn't in this pile is I did get a Hides, which is one of the ones that, well, everybody has to eat. No worries about that. One of the cards that helps keep the Dunlendings alive, because they're very low on vitality usually. There's a My Axe is Notched. Restless Axe. I got 2 copies of that. Because again, one of them came out of the booster packs I was opening, and one of them came out of one of those draft packs for Two Towers. Company of Archers. Legolas, the Dauntless Hunter. Now this one grabbed my attention because it's also got, the twilight cost of each shadow event and shadow condition costs more for each unbound hobbit you can spot. So instead of reducing the amount of shadow available for them to spend, this makes their stuff cost more, which has the same basic effect. Unfortunately, because it's from Two Towers block, I couldn't use it in a Fellowship deck, but if I could, it fits the theme so well. And I got 2 copies of it, so there's that. Gandalf's Staff. Bearer must be Gandalf.
I wonder if I'm going to run into some of these diamonds with so many of them being painted on the wrong side.
Grown suddenly tall. Spot Gandalf to discard all conditions.
This looks like Lord of the Rings or something.
Yeah, it does. We got Captain Faramir.
I wonder why.
The Forbidden Pool and Henneth Anun. Elite Crossbowman for Saruman's Orcs. Grima, Worm Tongue. Mahur, the patrol leader. New Power Rising. Orthac Champion. Again, I got 2 copies from the 2 different sources. Pillage of Rohan and Saruman's Staff. So again,
I don't know, you tell me, it's your stream.
Artifact Staff for Saruman. Unfortunately, I didn't get Saruman or Gandalf, but I got both their staffs. So go figure. I got Ugluk's sword. I didn't get Ugluk. I got Mohor. So all these mismatches.
Call the wizards by the wrong names. Put the other one back on. Call him Dumbledore.
Why?
Because.
No.
No, Tank was like, this looks like Lord of the Rings. I'm like, okay, just put the other one on.
Yeah.
This is Dumbledore, but I'm just being
got
silly.
a Desert Legion, and I got 2 of the Desert Lord, which I've heard is quite strong if you're playing the Southrons. So that's good if I end up going with Southrons.
I just like to be silly once in a while.
Got Discovered. Southron Troop.
Look how close I'm being done.
Wrath of Harad. Firefoot, a mount for Eomer, or any Rohirrim man, basically. Valleys of the Mark. Escape, and then I got the rare versions of both Frodo and Sam, which is very nice. Not the most valuable cards, but just iconic characters that you love to have. So that's what I pulled out of that. And it gives me some more just general tools for commons and uncommons as well for deck building. So my other little box here is where I started organizing things by the different blocks and putting in some cards specifically for deck building, at least at first. So you can see here I got the 2 starter decks from Fellowship of the Ring, where I got the 2 promo cards for that set. I did have both the 2 Towers ones, but I only put one of the box in here. These are the 2 from Battle of Helm's Deep, and I've got both of the ones from Ents of Fanghorn as well, but I only put one in here again. And I did get 2 from Black Rider, which is after the reset. So again, they won't just all fit in here. So I've got a couple elsewhere, but for the most part, this gives me sort of the timeline, Fellowship block, 2 Towers, leading into Return of the King, sort of in between, and then stuff that came after.
Mm-hmm. Lord of the Rings thing.
So, some of the cards I picked up here for my deck ideas. There was the Gandalf. Oh no, this is the extra copy of Gandalf and Aragorn from the 2 starter decks. So one of the starter decks is Gandalf themed, and the other one is Aragorn themed. And they each come with 2 copies of the promo cards. So I've got one in my set and the extra 2 here if I want to use them. Goblin Runner. So this was an example of the Moria Orcs I was planning on using. This is a pretty weak orc. It costs 1 shadow to play, but when you play this minion, you may add 2 shadow. So you end up coming out with more shadow to play other things, and you get a fairly weak orc, but another body on the board. And then in with it here, I've got a Moria Scout, which has a similar sort of idea. So when you play this minion, spot an elf to add 2. So if your opponent has any elves, basically it's free. So it costs you 2, and then you get the 2 back. And this one is a little bit stronger. It has 2 wounds in order to clear it. So if you've got an elf archer that might just be shooting something for 1 wound, well, 1 wound isn't enough to clear this one. So that's the type of thing that the Moria Orcs were doing, and then maybe end up in something like a Balrog or a Cave Troll. So I was excited to try them. I just don't think I've got all the cards I need to try them right now. And this card was one of the other few rares. I showed you the Aragorn from Realms of the Elf Lords that I was very pleased to get for the deck idea. Well, this was another card that I spotted that wasn't too expensive, and it seemed like just the type of card I'd want, because honestly, you always start with, in the movie block, Frodo, basically, as your ring bearer. There's a couple of exceptions if you get into Reflections, but for the most part, it's Frodo. So he's always going to be there. If he's dead, you're in big trouble anyway. So you're always going to have a need for a good sturdy hobbit sword, which is a common, or better yet, Sting. So it adds the same bonus of +2 strength as a hobbit sword. But during Fellowship or Regroup, exert Frodo to reveal an opponent's hand. Remove 1 shadow for each orc revealed, up to 4. So this also reduces the shadow available for your opponents to play enemies. So again, along with Bill the Pony, along with Aragorn, this is a resource denial strategy card, and it's one that's just thematic and you would want to have anyway for Frodo. So I did grab one of these, and I did that before I started counting the set, actually. So technically speaking, the 49 rares I'm missing, this is one of them. So I actually am only missing 48 rares for that set. So there's that. Then, what's this? This was an extra site I picked up. House of Elrond. When the Fellowship moves to House of Elrond, free people's player may spot 2 elves to remove a burden. Okay, I think it was just an interesting one I spotted somewhere for cheap, basically.
Oh.
Then we're into 2 Towers cards. That looked interesting. So this is some of the ones I got from the starter decks. So this is the promo version
It'd
from
be
the
really
starter
awesome.
deck of Aragorn and King Theoden.
It'd be neat to set up a
Or
game room with all the
preset, depending.
cards
It would be.
and have them properly cataloged and organized. And
There's again another version, another copy of Firefoot for Éomer, Hanathanun, and some of the there's the hides. This is one of the more valuable cards in Two Towers, just because it's such an important card if you're going to play the Dunland Men faction. It's so funny that something as random as just hides is really sought after card, but it is. So Rest by Night, Hearken to Me, Driven Back, Rest While You Can, another South Run, Veterans, and again Saruman Staff, but no Saruman, and Discovered. So yeah, I've got some interesting holes and stuff to work around when I get to deck building, but there's some stuff here for sure. And like I said, you can build with just base commons if you have to. So
is there anyone in chat that actually plays this game?
that would be handy, but there's not many people in chat, so probably
No,
not.
I don't know. I'm not watching that closely.
Yeah. So this is the Éomer, Éowyn promo from which deck is which here? That's the Legolas deck. And so this one here should be the Éowyn deck from Battle of Helm's Deep.
Tank says he plays it. He was being silly.
Nice.
I figured Tank was being
Well,
silly.
I appreciate any insights or advice, because, yeah, I'm at a bit of a loss as to how to proceed with some of this stuff, but I did like some of that. And I like some of these, I'll put it this way. For the Ensa Fanghorn and Battle of Helm's Deep starters, instead of adding random rares, which generally would be better, they did alternate art rare versions of rares, and I think this is one of those. So if you pulled this card from the set, it would have a different picture. It's still, handy to have something a little different, and I think it's a decent card and plays well with the deck, which is probably why they did it in some respects. But yeah, in terms of people purchasing more decks later down the line, the ability to get 3 random rares from the set is probably more appealing overall. So I think that was a misstep, and they did correct it and went back to putting in random rares after those 2 sets. So there's a Thundering Host, Foul Horde, and again, the Éowyn deck, the shadow side was Warg Riders. So I've been looking at that deck, and I find that as a really intriguing idea. Maybe I'll try that one day, but not sure exactly where or if it's strong enough to use as an option for my movie block as a whole, shadow side, but it does look fun anyway, if you can get those wargs and the riders together. Here's another version of Sting. This one again from Battle of Helm's Deep, interestingly. But, yeah, this was actually picked up sort of by accident. I was looking for the other Sting for Fellowship of the Ring, and ended up buying this one in error. And I got that corrected and got the one I wanted shortly thereafter. But, yeah.
Was that the time
very
that
different
you
sort of
got it
effect.
and you're like, this wasn't the one I ordered?
Yeah, basically, but they made it right away.
Yeah.
So I don't really hold that against them. It's
no,
probably
no.
an easy mistake to make.
They're actually really good to deal with, I think. And they're good about contacting
Exerted
you too.
Dwarf Dominion. There's the Legolas promo from the other deck. Breaking the Charge. Exert 3 Elf Companions to make the Fellowship Archery total +2. Army of the Haradrim, another South Run. And then Gollum and Smeagol. Both common versions. It's just one of the flavor quirks in this set that I like. Per your dilemma, I would buy singles now over opening more packs. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, but at the same time, the singles I'm missing tend to be the ones that are expensive and harder to find.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a downer, to be honest.
And sometimes it's fun to get to open a box, like some packs or boxes, and see what.
Just opening is fun. Plus, when you're opening packs, you do get the opportunity to potentially open a really cool foil.
Yeah, the foils are fun.
Yeah.
The
now,
Gimli
the
foil
regular
is my
cards are what
favorite,
I
I
want
think.
to play with, but I do appreciate the foils. That's a nice drawing card.
That Gimli foil, the one with the pieces in the hair, that's just a beautiful card.
So basically, how it worked for Gollum in this game is they made a version that would work with Frodo and a version that would work with the enemies. So, and they can both be in play simultaneously as sort of the two personalities. So you can literally have Smeagol battling Gollum, and that actually works surprisingly thematically well. And all the versions of Smeagol that I've seen cost 0 to play, but when you play, you have to add a burden. So instead of costing Shadow or giving your opponent Shadow to play other things, you're actually just burdening your ring bearer in order to play him. So it's kind of neat that in one sense at least he plays for free. And he was finally included in one of these decks. I remember looking through, they've got sort of suggested starting fellowships somewhere in the little booklets that come with the decks. Let's see if I can find the page quickly here. Cards. Healing. This is honest. Yeah, starting fellowships. So for the Faramir deck,
there, you little beat.
It suggests Faramir, Smeagol, Sam, Frodo, and the One Ring. And then Quick Brain, Merry, but what I found was, when I actually opened the deck, it didn't come with a Smeagol. So I was wondering what was going on. But they did include a Smeagol eventually, I think, in one of the Ents of Fanghorn decks.
Excuse me.
But yeah, this threw me for a bit of a loop the first time I spotted that. Oh, this is with the Ents of Fanghorn deck. Anyway, one of the other ones from Battle of Helm's Deep, I guess. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time looking at the same thing. But yeah, I came across one of these starters that suggested having Smeagol in your starting fellowship, and it wasn't there.
They stink.
It wasn't there as an option.
Oh my goodness, you don't belong there either, you stupid thing.
So I found, and yeah, here's another version of Smeagol. Here's the Witch King, and that's one of the starters from the Ents of Fanghorn. Has the Witch King, interestingly, as your face promo card instead of one of the hero cards. This is a bit of a rarity, and that I guess you see it in some of the later sets, but when you look at all the earlier decks, they're mostly heroes as the promo. This is the first one, I think, that had well, I'm missing some from Fellowship Block, but that I recall that had the Witch King. And the Witch King is a big baddie, and it is quite fitting because it's in the Ents deck. And then you've got a Gate Troll with an alternate art, Enraged, again for the Ents with alternate art. Linden Root apparently is a very powerful Ent to have if you're building an Ent deck, and it's one that I haven't been able to find a copy anywhere. But the Ent's pre-constructed deck, you got an alternate art version of Skinbark, who's good. I found Treebeard as a common, and Quickbeam is also a common, and is good for starting Fellowship or other things. It's just easy and quick to deploy. And there's that finished again.
I like the other flower one better.
Yeah, I think I do too. But yeah, so this was just some of the highlights. And then again, for Return of the King block, I was trying to find options for a deck. So I went through and ordered just some singles for the locations. I got at least 2 of each site number so that I'd have a couple of options for picking my sites, depending on what was available. Obviously, the most popular ones tend to sell out and are harder to find, but I'd get a couple of options. So I got sleeping quarters, road, west road. Some of these would be handy to use with cavalry because they're plains, I think. Or one of them was. Yeah, plains. That gives some bonuses for riders. King's Tent. Rohirrim Camp. And you've got the Tower of Ecthelion. The Beacons of Minas Tirith. The Dimholt. Pelennor Field. So these are all based off Return of the King. So that's their site path. So each block you have to restrict to a site path. And what really bugs me is if you're playing movie block, which can use all 3 movies, you're still stuck with the sites from Return of the King. That doesn't make sense to me. I would think you should be able to use sort of either any of them or maybe even a hybrid of them, where you have, you start out with a few sites from Fellowship, then a few sites from Two Towers, then end with sites from Return of the King. That seems to make a lot more sense thematically to me, but that's not what the rules actually say, so you're kind of stuck if you actually want to play with anybody of following the rules for making the decks. And there's a couple of 4s. Sorry, I'm covering the names. Dual Pelennor Fields. Then we get to Site 6, which is the second Sanctuary site. This one I made sure to grab Minas Tirith's 7th Circle because I was thinking elves looked pretty good to use in movie block, because there are some neat elves that came out, particularly in of the sets for Return of the King. The cheapest and easiest one to still find packs for, ironically, is the last one, set 10, Mount Doom. And that set features elves quite heavily. And there are some good ones. So that's what I was leaning towards for my movie block deck, was to run elves. And this site gives a bonus for elves. So if the Fellowship moves from this site during the regroup phase, heal each elf companion. So that's nice if you're playing elves. And then you can see the last sites. Site 7, 6 shadow, 8 shadow, 9 shadow. They get pretty lethal the further you go. Then I've got another one of these packs of Elvish cards for Return of the King block, just as, like I said, I got a good deal on them, so I picked up 2, not just the 1 for the binder. Here's the Gandalf. It's a common version that where did I get this? Was it just a common I picked up? Might have been. Another version of Smeagol, so I've got at least 3 different Smeagols to choose from. If I want to include, a 0-cost extra character in my starting Fellowship or something, which could be handy. This Frodo has, each time the Fellowship moves, you may add 3 shadow to remove a threat. Merry has gotten a little bit more to deploy, but also stronger. Discard 4 cards from hand to make Merry strength +2 for each Rohan companion you spot. Works with Rohan.
I love Merry. He's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he's...
But it's him and Pippin together that I love the most about those 2 characters.
In the film, I can definitely see that.
I'm talking about the movies, sorry.
Yeah.
The books, I don't remember the books.
In the books, they broke up a little bit more. Pippin journeys with Frodo and Sam, and then meets up with Merry just before they meet the Shire. and Mary's got a little bit more Hobbit sense, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Faramir. Here's a good old common version of Faramir, and Eowyn. Jeepers, I get those names mixed up. Now, this one was interesting, because Radagast didn't show up in the Lord of the Rings movies. They did put him into The Hobbit, but this was sort of the concept costume they had for him before, during the Lord of the Rings. Obviously, a different actor. They just got someone to wear the costume for the picture. And this was one of the promo cards that they had for a countdown collection. There was something you were supposed to participate in going in each week leading up to the release of The Return of the King, I think. And if you collected all so many weeks, you got a special countdown reward. And in the end, it was four cards, and this was one of them, that they later released as part of Reflections. You could get them, but they were all foils and Reflections. So the only way you could get the non-foil version was part of this countdown collection thing. And Radagast, aside from just being an interesting bit of lore in the movie and the world, this card has actually got quite a potentially strong ability. Each time the move limit is +1. So ordinarily, you can only move twice if you feel so bold during your turn before you have to pass to your opponent. So if you got Radagast, all of a sudden you got the option to make a third move if you're, again, so bold and think your resources are set up well enough, which is potentially quite strong. And he's Gandalf faction, and he's a wizard, so he can use some of the Gandalf cards. It's definitely an interesting option, and I was able to find one that wasn't too expensive, so that was nice. Now, this is the only rare plus from Reflections that I picked up, Glorfindel. And again, this is another one, similar to the Radagast costume here, that didn't make the cut in the film. Glorfindel was supposed to be the elf in the book who meets up with Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, and Strider when they're trying to get to Rivendell, and Frodo has been badly injured by the Nazgul at Weathertop. And he's the one who helps get them through. In the film adaptations, they always keep replacing him. Back in the old animated series, they gave that part to Legolas. And then in Peter Jackson's trilogy, they substituted Arwen in for Glorfindel. So, in both cases, it sort of messes with certain characters' power levels as far as I'm concerned. But Glorfindel is really interesting. Not a lot of characters have 9 just base attack value. And his Twilight cost is -2 if he's in your starting fellowship. So you're getting a 4-cost stats guy, basically, for 2 if he's in your starting fellowship. This is one of the things that drew me to elves as a possibility, as well as the ones that I saw for the Mount Doom set. One of which was Galadriel, who, again, when is in your starting fellowship, Twilight cost -3, so she's free. So you could have your starting fellowship being Frodo with the ring, Glorfindel, who only costs 2, Galadriel, who's free. You could throw in Smeagol for free, and then you still got 2 more. You could bring in, say, Legolas Greenleaf or something, another decent elf. Well, then you've got Frodo, Smeagol, and 3, decently useful elves, all in your starting party, where you're supposed to only have, this is a total of 9 shadow cost, where your starting fellowship is supposed to be a total of 4 shadow cost. That just seemed too good a start to pass up to me. So that's what I'm sort of leaning towards for my movie block, is to go with elves and run something like this for my starting fellowship. And Galadriel, not the best of stats, but she's got a handy ability. Uh, if you're running a lot of Elven event cards, to get rid of a shadow condition or shadow possession, you can use them for that, which seems to be potentially quite useful, even if she's not a great fighter. And then I picked up some other interesting elves. We've got Arwen here, again an uncommon from Mount Doom, and Agnor, affectionately referred to as Figwit by his contemporaries in Rivendell, which is actually sort of a term which moviegoers early on apparently gave him, from what I've heard. And then Círdan the Shipwright. This one would be the real sort of late game muscle, because Círdan was one of the ring bearers. He passed on his ring to Gandalf when Gandalf turned up, but very old and powerful elf, to be sure. To play, you need to spot 2 elves, so you basically have to be playing a heavy elf deck. Exert Círdan to make a minion he is skirmishing strength -1 for each elven event in your discard pile. So again, you could be playing events. She allows you to discard events for some value, and then for each event that has been played or discarded, this guy's ability gets stronger. So Círdan, I picked up a couple copies because it seems to be a key sort of late game bit to that starting group that I had. Just the synergy is just too good to pass up as far as I can see. This is just another Elven event, which a little bit conditional, but hey, if you don't have Sauron minions, conditions, or possessions to deal with, you can always discard it to Galadriel for other purposes. And then I've got an Elvish version of Elrond and the English version, just so I can read it. But Elrond seems to be another quite strong Elven character, if you're playing elves anyway. This version is a companion. There's always a catch or stumbling block, isn't there? Oh, you bet. To play Spot an Elf again, at the start of each skirmish involving Elrond, you may reveal the top card of your draw deck. If it's an Elvish card, you may heal another elf. So again, the elves seem to like being around other elves. So just making a pretty much mostly elf deck, maybe throwing in, obviously you need Frodo, but maybe throwing in someone like Smeagol or Radagast, but mainly running elves, seems to me like a decent strategy. So that's where I'm thinking for my my fellowship side for movie block at the moment. And I just have to pick a shadow side. I don't know whether I should go with, like I said, the Warg Riders from Two Towers block, or just find whatever I've got the strongest cards for, whether that's Sauron, Uruk-hai type orcs, or maybe the Southron, since I've got the 2 Desert Lords. I haven't got as many ideas for that yet. Again, I really want to try the Moria orcs, but I just don't think I have the cards for it. And then following up after the reset, so again, this doesn't have a site number. It's part of the new site rules. I just picked up a Buckland Homestead just because it seemed like such a useful option to have in the toolbox. So play a Nazgul to discard a condition from play. So if you've got some Nazgul in your deck, and most of them, like there's some pretty useful Nazgul to just toss in, you get some extra value out of that. So a lot of decks I could see running at least a couple of Nazgul, even if you're not making a Nazgul themed deck. It seemed like a handy one, and I was able to pick one up again, just as having as an option if I ever make a deck from that block. The elf cards are lovely. I love the shade of blue they made, and they do some useful things, and they seem to have strong synergy. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to try, at least for my first movie block deck, an elf deck. And again, even in the Fellowship, the rares I pulled out of the starter deck included 2 elven cards. So Legolas Greenleaf, I've heard is, very just generally useful. Good basic stats, and then Archer and the ability to wound a minion directly of your choice, instead of just adding to the archery total. Could be quite handy. And then I got Celeborn as an ally. Again, it sort of ties into the elven healing thing. But I don't know how much I'm going to want to run allies or not. I'm going to have to look into the rules for that. But it's at least another option. I don't think allies don't count towards the rule of 9 or anything, so it might be easier to squeeze in some extra value that way, especially if I don't have a lot of double copies of things. So yeah, that's basically my whole collection up to this point. Other than, like I said, I still have a couple of sealed boxes I haven't opened yet. I do have another box of Fellowship and another box of Two Towers. So I haven't opened as much Two Towers. Maybe it'd be worth digging into the box of Two Towers at some point. It tends to be a little cheaper than Fellowship, although maybe that's changing because things do seem to be getting harder and harder to find as time goes on. But yeah, so that's where my collection's at, and that's where my thoughts are for decks. But I haven't actually gotten any decks built yet, and I may have to bite the bullet and pick up a few singles and just try it that way. It would really be nice to pull that, certain key cards I would love to actually pull as opposed to just going out and buying, if you can find, and depending how much they want for them. That's always the drawback there. But anyway, yeah. So like I said, I was planning on playing the Shadow Denial /
The Charizard boxes are starting to drop prices.
Oh, nice. It's always good when you can find a deal on something, I guess. But,
how much is a box?
How much is a box? Like a booster box? It depends. If you're just getting the little draft packs, which don't have foils in them and are, less packs, they're pretty cheap. I've seen them for as low as $35 US. But booster boxes, when I started collecting them about 2 years ago, roughly, a little less than 2 years, I was finding Fellowship of the Ring for maybe $120 and Two Towers for maybe $80-$90 a box. But now those prices are creeping up and things go out of stock and then back in. I know of 2 distributors that carry them and another store or 2 that gets them in sometimes, and they're in and out of stock, what's there, what's not. When I went looking today actually at Two Towers, and I was considering whether I wanted to open some more, 2 of the 3 places I know just didn't have them. I didn't go looking at eBay. And the other one, the price had gone up to $180 a box for Two Towers. Fellowship of the Ring, last time I checked, I saw one place that had it at $180, the same price, and another place that had it at around $220 for a box. So yeah, they've definitely gone up in price over the last 2 years. And I expect they, as things get a little rarer, that probably will continue. Some of the harder to find sets, like a box of Reflections, last time I saw one anywhere was close to $1,000 US a box.
Ooh.
Or 900 or maybe. And yeah, the only place I saw Return of the King in store, it was in Canada, and that was, they were asking $900 a box a year ago for that. So
I know it's not Lord of the Rings related.
It's just really pricey.
But I want to show what I picked up.
Oh, there's a
Pokemon incoming.
Yeah.
We were at a shop last night, and I found this, and I liked it.
Yeah.
But does then again, have a couple dings on it.
Yeah.
Up here.
When I consider the recent stuff too, like the Magic Lord of the Rings booster boxes, not even the collector boxes, just like the set boxes, those are going for close to getting close to $300 a box now too. So everything's just expensive these days.
This one also has some nicks on it, but I was happy to find this. So
Aerodactyl and Lapras, couple of
yeah,
good old classics.
I like that dragon.
Yeah.
I just love them. I was very happy to find these, and I was hemming and hawing over this one. But then he offered me both of these for like a combined price. So was it basically for the price of this one?
Basically.
Yeah, so he basically gave me this one. So is it Zard related? I don't think there's any Zard. No.
No.
Because it's
Aerodactyl's
Aerodactyl.
a fossil Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then you've got Lapras, so.
I just think I think these are pretty cards. So.
There were a lot of Pokemon in Gen 1 that seemed sort of dragon adjacent, but there weren't that many actual dragon types back then. Just the Dragonite evolution line, basically.
This is really bright. The reflection is.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know if you're done showing the cards, you could just put on your face and chat.
I suppose, but then I gotta show my ugly face.
Evolves from which main character card? Yeah, I forget to.
Dratini, Dragonair, Dragonite were the three.
But usually, like, if it evolves from something, you see the... Oh, sorry. Forgot. You see the symbol, like, up here, and that's usually what it, like... What the evolution's from.
Yeah, but this one evolves from a fossil, so...
So do these cards have value?
The Lord of the Rings Decipher cards, some of them do, especially...
Sorry, I go confuse people.
Especially the foils. That foil Gimli I pulled from Fellowship, I think goes for about $60 US.
Yes, I figured that's what you meant, card collector.
There are some that get up over 100. In terms of the non-foil cards, the best ones from Fellowship probably go for about $20-25, somewhere in that ballpark. And then, they'll have a couple $10 cards, some $5 cards, and then some bulk rares that aren't as interesting for like $1 or so.
Pack price, question mark? Again, it depends on the set,
Yeah,
right?
it depends on the set, depends on... And they've been changing over the last couple of years, too. The prices have been going up. I used to find Fellowship of the Ring packs for about $6 if you just wanted to buy loose packs. And Two Towers for about $5. And both those prices have crept up now if you can find them. Return of the King packs, last I saw, I think we're closer to $17-18 a pack for loose packs. Boxes are another thing. I would like for my my mixed variety box that I showed off on a previous stream to pick up a pack or two of Bloodlines and Reflections just to fill out a couple of the holes. But the really expensive sets, last time I saw a pack of Hunters for sale anywhere was $200 a pack. So it's just not... I'm not even going to consider those later sets. They're just way too rich for my blood at this point. If I'd thought about seeking them out a decade or more ago, maybe it would have been worthwhile, but not today. It's going the way of Star Wars, Decipher Star Wars card game, where even the cheapest sets now are getting harder to find and more expensive. So that happens. Star Trek is slower to the game. Star Trek, at least half the sets are still at MSRP or below, original MSRP or below. But are they worth $200? Which? The packs? It seems to be sort of the going rate for the really rare ones. Like I said, those last three sets, the Hunters, the Rise of Saruman. If you open it, probably not. There are some fancy foil editions they were doing back then. What did they call them? It's like showcase foil type special treatments they would put on some of the foils, and those are pretty sought after. But yeah, I wouldn't. Luxury sports sets go for like thousands. Yeah, I guess it's all relative what you're comparing to. 200 still sounds cheap compared to what I'm dealing with, man. Well, I guess that's, again, it's what you're looking at and comparing to.
Yeah. I'm leaning more.
If you want a pack of antiquities for Magic the Gathering, those are going for like $1,000 a pack now.
Leaning more towards Pokemon these
Arabian
days.
Nights would be even more. Like,
yeah, the older packs of Pokemon, some of those packs, like the individual packs, are crazy.
yeah.
I can't even imagine, like watching Deep Pocket Monster grab a random pack of cards and open it, and I'd be like, I would be so nervous opening that pack.
Yeah. Well, there's people who do it too. I mean,
yeah.
Open Boosters is a guy who likes to open a lot of the old Magic the Gathering stuff, and it's really neat to watch
I feel
because
like
it's
people are
not something I'm going to be able to do.
Like me leaning towards Pokemon is raising the prices in it too. Sorry, Pokemon collectors. We've only recently started collecting Pokemon. Like when Crown Zenith came out, that's when we really got into it.
Yeah. I mean, sealed product is such a different animal than the actual singles and cards.
We don't have. I think what we splurged on.
Because it's always a declining
the
amount.
Celebrations UPCs. We bought two, one to open and one to keep sealed. That was like our first thing that we got to keep sealed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It seemed to be sort of a special product with the metal cards being introduced in it. So.
And then we got some 151 stuff that we're keeping sealed.
I'm waiting for that new Eevee set. Yeah, so are a lot of people. It does look like it's going to have some neat stuff in it, and a lot of people are excited for it. And it looks like the supply is going to be a little lower than most sets too. So you've got enhanced demand, lower supply. The prices are already going up on it. It's
might
not
be
even
making
released
more
yet.
more trips to the next town over more frequently.
It sounds like yeah, maybe
finding out when their stock days at the Walmart is.
It sounds like it's going to be like they're going to come out with more throughout the year. It's going to be a popular set. So
some people are also thinking that they're gonna print a lot more of it, and it's not worth FOMOing over right now. But I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. You never know. It's all guesswork at this point.
Town, we live in rural Alberta.
yeah.
So yeah.
I've always grown up in places where to get to a big city, you got to drive at least an hour, sometimes more.
Yeah, that's right, Founder. Read Founder's comments.
Where are we?
The bottom one.
Adults can control themselves,
but they choose not to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, everybody has something that they're willing to splurge on a little bit.
What I don't love is the scalpers that go into Costco and buy all the freaking things.
Yeah. It's always
or
not
when
fun
something's
when
on Walmart and then they buy them all up on Walmart.
And then just try and flip them for profit.
Yeah.
That is annoying for sure.
Yeah, that's what, and I'm not buying inflated prices. I'll buy stuff, you know. Yeah, I should have bought a booster box of Surging Sparks.
Well,
when it was 200 and I didn't expect it was going to jump up to 287 a box.
When you get products that are in demand, you'll usually be able to find someone who's willing to buy them.
Yeah.
So
they steal cards or they just buy everything, so cards are being placed in security boxes.
Yeah, there's more of that, unfortunately, but you know, I think the economy is just going so weird right now in general that people are looking for any opportunity they can to try to turn a buck. Like,
yeah. My inventory is secure as far as both EV sets go. I'm not leaving it up to chance for a possible reprint.
Yeah. Well, we managed to pre-order a couple things, but not a lot.
Not a lot, no.
And luckily, we had some good luck with the Japanese, so it's not as much pressure as it once was anyway. So
the one box that Broly opened us, I can't wait.
Here in America, even card shows are getting hit. I think they stole 40K in cards the other day. Yeah, I've heard some vendors at card shows and stuff getting stolen from. It's really unfortunate when stuff like that happens. And honestly, it's one of the reasons I don't take a lot of my big guns out much anymore. Just because I got to be watching them all the time. Unless I'm with a group that I really know and trust. Like, I know my brother's not going to steal from me. But, you know.
But I can't wait till...
I also only paid MSRP.
Ooh.
Well, that's really good if you can find that.
I'm thinking that gear... I don't know how long it takes to grade the cards at PSA, but I can't wait to get it back from Broly, the Giratina from Lost Origin.
I can't believe what my SoCal friends are paying for a
Booster box
booster
terrestrial.
box of terrestrial. Yeah, I've heard some ugly stories for sure.
I'm still waiting for my box to ship from that one store. I'm gonna have to call them tomorrow and see if they have it in store, and if they haven't shipped it yet, tell them to hold on to it because then we can pick it up Monday.
Who knows? I usually stick to packs and trainer boxes.
ETBs, you mean?
Probably.
Yeah. My fan paid $41.99 per. So Founder's the one to get the connections from.
Who knows?
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly not bad.
No, it's also having money. Like, I mean,
We also have to run all
to-
our translations because obviously being up here in Canada, our dollar's not worth as much. So
no,
it's been sinking a little bit more
yeah.
lately, which is annoying. Especially when all the sources I know of for certain things, especially these older games, almost all of them are down in the States. So if our dollar sinks lower, that makes the high prices even higher. Per PE. What's a PE?
I don't know. ETB. That is
ETB. Okay. That makes sense.
I do find it interesting that sometimes I see people going around Walmarts and different stores and showing prices of Pokemon stuff, and I'm like, that's the same price that they have it here in Canada at our Walmart, and that's
Walmarts
Canadian.
are interesting because sometimes their prices are better than what you can find in the card shops for some things, and sometimes they're way worse. So it all depends on the product.
What's good is when you have stuff that's going up in card shops and Walmart gets
I'm still new and horrible with acronyms. Yeah, I'm relatively new. Getting back into things myself, so
the ETB
it is what it
the
is.
Elite Trainer box. So.
Yeah.
Here's a catch. Here in New York City, there's no Walmart in the city. Oh, crazy. It's been banned? Walmart's been banned in New York?
I know a lot of stores in some of the bigger cities are having trouble keeping their doors open.
Oh, because of the theft, yeah.
But that's not the same thing as a ban.
And then there's like a policy where they're like, yeah, don't stop them, and it's like then the Walmarts close them because maybe that's crazy.
Know.
Although New York has
but
some
maybe
weird
that's
laws,
more in Chicago than New York. I'm not sure where I saw that happening more, but there's been a few places. New York has
some weird laws, though, don't they?
Well, every state has its own laws. So
like Quebec. Well, it's a province, not a state, but Quebec's fun.
Quebec's distinct. Yes.
No ban because when Walmart leaves a place, it basically turns into a ghost town. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know there's been some resistance to Walmart moving into some of the towns we've been in over the years. Local businesses don't want them to come in because it's a steeper competition for price and things. But Walmart and Target won't carry Pokemon in my city because scalpers were holding up truck drivers.
Oh my goodness.
Gunpoint. Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
That's when you start getting like military going with them and be like, gotcha.
That's when you just stop carrying that product.
Well, yeah.
So
I think I just wish they'd just go after the people who do that and take actually do something about it. It's like with lots of issues in different cities.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some changes one way or another. They do monopolize a lot of things. We had actually, when ours first came to town, they were undercutting the local pet store on fish, but I guess they were struggling with it. And eventually they closed down their pets department live section for fish and things and sold all their tanks to the local pet store. So,
yeah.
It wasn't. It doesn't always go their way.
They couldn't get employees to stay either. Like,
no,
people don't like to work there.
Yeah,
I couldn't work at Walmart because I wouldn't if they made me do their morning powwow thing there. When they're.
I just go through family in Japan. It's less complicated. Yeah, well, it certainly helps when you know someone who has contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, New York City has a lot of bodegas. Yeah, it helps when there's other options to find things too.
We don't have much
In
options
in
out here.
our town, there's only like one or two stores that ever carry cards.
Canadian Tire gets them sometimes,
Yeah,
and then the drugstore sometimes.
yeah.
But really, we have to go out of
So
town and order them in.
that's the thing. We usually have to either order them in or go for a trip to the city and look around there.
Yeah.
Um, Here we have card shops. Yeah, again, the card shops are mostly out in the bigger towns or the city. We know of a couple in some of our neighboring towns.
Yeah.
But not a lot, and sometimes they don't last very long. I know someone who tried to open one in town here, and it
Probably just didn't
fell
have the
apart
best
fairly quickly.
business set. Like, I mean, you have to have multiple, like, kind of have to like
You
two or
need
three
a
businesses.
steady base, and
I like the one in Edmonton there that's got the cafe there as well.
Dollar General, Best Buy, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have Target in Canada anymore. Don't think we have a Dollar General.
Find me EVs. They don't. Where are we?
I think there's a comment deleted. She deleted that one.
I'm missing things.
One of her comments she deleted.
Yeah, I know, but things were scrolling quicker than I missed something.
I don't know any more about Pokemon than I do, but they follow directions well. Find me EVs. Yeah.
I pulled a Blastoise EX the other day. Sadly, it was from Stellar Crown. Okay. Well, I lose track as to which ones are the
Stellar Crown
better
is
ones.
It's the one with the blue blue shell thing. Yeah. We have Best Buys, but we haven't gone to Best Buy in a while, and I don't think I've ever seen Pokemon in the Best Buys that we've gone to. I think we'd have to look. We'd have to actually try and go look.
Target attempted
Toys
to
R Us
come to
has
Canada a few years back, and they did not last long.
Toys R Us has them, but they're expensive.
Yeah, Toys R Us, their selection is probably.
We have a few card shops in the city we go to that prices are decent.
Yeah, some actual like collectible card, and other game type shops. Usually,
You guys still have Toys R Us? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Our Canada Toys R Us
They never fully
completely.
shut down anyway. There was, I'd say, usually one or two left in most of the major cities, and
Maybe
their selection suffered a little bit because they didn't have the same buying power anymore. But they're starting to work on coming back.
They are a little bit higher priced.
They're trying to streamline their operations. It's more, come to our counter and pick up in store type stuff. And
their sales for Pokemon is regular prices.
Basically. Barnes and Noble are slowly shutting down here. That's I think when I think Barnes and Noble, that's just like a bookstore, like a Kohl's or
I think so.
Chapters or something.
But like Indigo, yeah.
Yeah. When we have Toys R Us in the States too, they're in Macy's department stores. Oh yeah, they're just sort of like the little seasonal pop-up shops or whatever.
We should do a video sometime when we have time to just go through our Toys R Us and just show
it. That could be interesting to do a Canadian Toys R Us tour sometime. Yeah.
We just have to make sure we don't get the employees because they probably don't want to.
Probably not. That was interesting to see some of their
or other kids, people's kids.
Oh, not seasonal ones that are more permanent now. Yeah, I've heard they're trying to open up more in the States again, but.
Oh yeah, it's actually the books. They do have
full-on store area. Okay.
We just haven't been like we go to our main stores that we go to. We don't have time to go looking at all of them all the time.
No,
it's
always so rushed when you got to spend over an hour getting to the city and over an hour getting back. And this time of year, your daylight hours are so short.
Yeah.
Up here, the sun is down by 5.
Ooh, they start making longer tomorrow.
It's getting dark, and
today was the shortest day of the year.
Yeah, and it's not bright out until close to 9.
Family Dollar and Dollar General have Pokemon 2 and far cheaper. We need to get our passports and take a drive sometime. Take the camper and go.
Yeah, it could be neat if we can arrange it.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, it's a lot of paperwork these days.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I remember one of my friends' families, they used to go down and visit in the United States, and they would bring back Lego sets that was, I guess the exchange rate was good and it was just cheaper to find stuff like that down there. It was interesting.
Mm.
You don't see that much anymore. Well, I guess if you live in a border town, but
Be careful in certain parts of my country. Yeah, we hear
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Which one?
Huh?
Which country?
In the States.
United States.
Yeah.
Some towns and states I hear are a little bit more complicated to maneuver than others, and if you do get into trouble, it's
Yeah, well, we
we'd
don't.
we'd need to get travelers insurance and stuff
Yeah.
and all that jazz.
We'd probably be staying in mostly the northern states anyways.
It's that way everywhere. Yeah, but
Yeah.
not to the same degree. Some places are worse than others from what I observe. But there is more and more of it everywhere, you're right. Even in our, little towns up here, you're seeing more
Mhm.
more crime, more people just milling about. You'd think that a cold winter would be a good deterrent for people to, make sure they've got shelter somewhere. But not always the case,
No.
sadly. So,
A lot of people commit crimes, so they get to go to
Yeah.
jail.
well, you can compare them, but obviously there are going to be differences.
Cold winter is actually perfect crime weather.
Mhm.
It gets pretty cold here. I mean, I don't know. It used to slow down in the winter when it gets really cold, like when it gets to be like -40. Even then, you don't see too many people going out. And
No,
but this year is a fairly mild winter so far.
I travel a lot too. You just have to trust your gut and move on if it feels unsafe. It helps if you have a friend in the area who knows the area as well.
Yeah.
Some sort of a local guide or at least someone who knows the language. That's very helpful. I've one of my friends who used to live in Mexico has said that's very important when you go down there. I've seen it in Central Asia. There's just it's just a really handy thing
I
to
grew up
have
in
if you're going
very
to be traveling
rural
to an
northern
area you're
Ontario,
not familiar
so
with.
there of course there was crime, but it was very rural, and I don't know, it wasn't the same. I'm not a city person at all. At
Mhm.
all. I want to live in the country so bad. I don't even like living in town.
Yeah.
Like, but it's so expensive to live in the country. I'd have like a bunch of dogs.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean the country has some advantages, but there's some disadvantages too.
Uh,
It's interesting too. You get in smaller towns, there's less anonymity.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean someone's gonna recognize you wherever you go.
Yeah.
The silence of the countryside makes me for crazy.
I love it. The birds singing, and hearing the wind going through the trees, and the rivers and the
I say there's
streams.
pros and cons to everything too, and
But
it
I
depends
grew
on
up
where
with
you
that
are.
though.
Like I know people who lived out on the East Coast, and just
ocean.
not having the sound of the ocean in the background was maddening to them when they moved inland.
The ocean is so loud.
So,
And I don't think I can handle like the scent of the ocean. I can't.
yeah, birds.
We have the birds in the city too, and I hear them. It's not the same.
It's
I mean,
it's a little bit different selection of birds in my experience. Oh, I remember a lot of pigeons around parts of Toronto.
Okay, but I grew up.
Or even in Waterloo, you had a lot of geese, and
We didn't have many pigeons. We had like blue jays and robins and different kinds of birds.
There are no secrets in the countryside. Well,
no,
that's not entirely true either, but yeah, there's a whole lot more people who'll recognize you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Easier to find hiding spots maybe in the countryside. There's that. Well, I don't know. Depends
I
what
think
you're looking to
my
hide.
my mom, like back before they legalized marijuana, I think they were like taking walks on their property, and they found somebody had planted a bunch of marijuana on their property.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
never know what you're gonna find in some
Yeah.
areas.
One neighbor finds out, they will know I was born in the side, but my family are all farmers from the countryside. Okay, or city side.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had a lot of family that grew up in Montreal area, and so there's a lot of background of people who like the city, but more and more we've sort of dispersed and moved largely to more rural areas. But my parents recently, on their most recent move, moved back into a more of a city center, and it's definitely a different feel.
I don't
My
even
dad
that. That's
used,
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It's hard enough for me to live here. I couldn't
Yeah.
live in it. I couldn't live there.
Overwhelming the number of people there.
The just how housing is so much closer. Like there's all the units, and they're all like that. I feel like the one when we went to pick something up in the one suburb there, and how the houses are so close.
Yeah.
I felt claustrophobic. I just can't. Visiting is like, oh, I don't know. I can visit some places, but I can't.
So the ambulances and police sirens have always been normal to me. I live next to an above ground train.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
I don't.
Growing up, we lived in a small town,
Yeah.
but we lived right on the highway, and my bedroom was right on the front of the house.
Yeah.
So I got used to, road noises and stuff to a certain extent, but
Well, I mean, we're
not
not
the
far
same
off.
by
We're
any
not far
means.
off the highway ourselves, and we feel our house shake when the big trucks go by.
Sometimes.
Like, oh my
It's an
goodness.
old house too, right?
Yeah, but it's a sturdy house.
Yeah.
The first renovation was what, 1930s?
I don't know.
Late 1930s.
I mean, the house I grew up in was over a century old too, so there's always
This house is
depends
better
what
than
you're
our old
comparing
house,
to.
so much better than our old house, the first house we lived in here.
1930s though, wow, this place is
I
old.
get like 8 sups walking to the deli, and two blocks away every morning.
I don't like living on top of my neighbors. I rather live near roosters and pig pens. I agree.
Mm.
I want to be in the country so bad.
I've seen when things go bad in the country too, though. You're farther from help.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't
So-
want. Yeah, well,
Be good if your neighbor was a doctor.
Well, it can be, but
I don't know.
yeah.
my mom goes camping in the summer. She really gets away from people. Goes
And
camping in the
again,
bush.
every city's got a different feel to it as well.
Yeah.
Some cities you get a lot thicker exhaust, you get a lot more windy roads. I remember traveling, like I said, I grew up in a rural area, and it was about an hour drive. You could get to either Ottawa or Montreal, and driving with people from different places, going with people from Ottawa into Montreal, and they're getting into the thick of the driving, and they're like, okay, when you're driving, I understand turn left, turn right, go straight. But when the road splits and goes up and down, that just freaked them out. They're like, okay, now whereas people going from the other way and going into Ottawa get messed up by all the different one-way streets. And that's not nearly as, or corners where you're not allowed to turn a certain direction. Things like that. So aside from cultural differences, just the way cities are laid out, they've definitely all got different feels to them.
Yeah.
I would go stir crazy being in the city. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I visited.
New York City has everything. Well, it's definitely got more than a lot of other places.
Your mom enjoyed her visit to New York City when she went there.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'd never go to New York ever.
Well, never say never.
I mean,
things happen.
if you have somebody that knows the area and can take you wherever, it might not be
From
so
what I've
bad.
heard,
But
it's actually a very dirty place. There's like rats and garbage everywhere.
Well, again,
we have
you've also
we
got
have
some very nice
that's
areas.
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the people in the chat here is from New York. So.
Yeah.
Is that true? What I've heard?
I can find
again, there's
everything
probably some
here.
of that.
That's another reason why I love it. I travel, but I technically don't need to because I can find any restaurant, any entertainment, anything, even a cup of Tim Hortons.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't love Tim Hortons anymore. They've gone downhill.
Well, that's the thing. He talks about a cup of Tim Hortons, right?
Yeah.
Tim Hortons is first and foremost, or at least used to be, a donut shop.
Yeah.
Coffee was secondary.
Yeah.
And now they're all about
Same can be said
sandwiches
about,
and coffee,
Canada,
and their donuts.
And it depends on where in the city.
Like,
Yeah. Don't talk New York. I'm just kidding.
Is it actually a decent place?
Well, he said it depends where you are in New York.
it depends what you're looking
And he says
for.
most places in cities in Canada. Well, except for Alberta.
Well,
we don't have as many rats. I mean, I'm not saying we don't have any rats, but we don't have as many here because of the ban on rats.
and well, it's partially just the geography of the place, and they'd have to
Nobody's allowed
spread in through
pets.
Saskatchewan,
You're not allowed
and
pets.
they watch that
Yeah.
border closely.
It's like
Yeah.
pretty much the. Is it like the only place that actually has a ban on rats, or one
Alberta,
of the,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the only other place they don't.
but yeah, I
survive
hear
for
a lot of
long.
good things about the restaurants in New York, for example.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
New York
So-
pizza is supposed to be the best, apparently.
And then
Yeah.
entertainment's pretty. I hear a lot of good things about entertainment there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And they have a really big park.
well, yeah.
Don't say you don't have any rats. You have the Oilers. That doesn't even bug me because I'm from Ontario, so I was a Leafs fan. They suck, but hey.
The Oilers are sort of our local team now,
Yeah.
but growing up, we both have other traditional
Yeah.
teams.
You're a
Like I said,
Montreal
most
fan.
of my family was from Montreal, so I cheer for the Habs, and it was a Leafs
I
fan,
love that
so.
comment. That's awesome. I don't even hate the Oilers either, though. But that's just hilarious. I love it.
You got the little shock face here. There you go. There's a lot of teams that I will cheer for. I always like it when the original 6 teams do well, or Canadian teams do well for the most part. There's a couple of exceptions. But there's other teams that, just for historical reasons, I have an appreciation for.
Nah, I'm a Rangers fan, obviously. Went over my head.
Most people around here, if you cheered for the Flames, you'd probably get a dirty look around here.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. The Battle of Alberta is quite a rivalry between the two Alberta teams.
Well, even on, I mean, it's not as much a
Back when
rivalry
Quebec
in
had 2
Ontario
teams, it was a
between-
rivalry there too. So
I like the Flames as card collector. The teams that I do not love is Ottawa.
yeah, the Ottawa Senators are probably the Canadian team I like the least.
Calgary's won me money. And Boston. I am not a Boston fan.
I have respect for the franchise in Boston anyway.
I have
also
not
kinda
watched hockey much lately though, but back when I really watched it.
I've also got a bit of a soft spot for
What?
Pittsburgh,
The
just because
cheese
it's
bread.
the house
Who
that
would've known it's
Mario
so
built.
different?
So
I ate like
I used to really
I
appreciate
think the
Mario
majority of
review.
the cheese bread we got today.
I got a very little piece of that, so you ate most of it.
I'm growing fond of the Utah Hockey Club. Not about them yet. I don't watch hockey nearly as much as I used to.
Is that the newest team? The newest expansion?
That's what I've heard. Where they were going.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
We've gone from Lord of the Rings to Pokemon to hockey.
Yeah, it's sort of conversational drift happening.
This
big
was
time
their
here
first
now.
season. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But
that's
what's
nice to
what are we
chat.
doing next?
Mom,
It's Monday, I guess.
Should
Yeah.
tell them about how
If I can find a challenger for Monday Night Magic, I want to try another 40 card 93 challenge special. We'll see. Now that Canada Post's working again, maybe I can even work up some sort of prize support if somebody can beat me.
just you're talking about how we got off topic.
Yes.
You should tell them the joke about women's minds being like
No.
waffles.
We won't go there.
No.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, back to cards. Now I'm just like, come on. Enough hockey talk.
Yeah. But yeah, the prices on these old things are certainly going up. But when I look at the prices for the modern stuff, like the modern Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings
there is
stuff
the
that came out last year, those prices are going nuts too. I mean, not even the collector boosters. The collector boosters are, yes, ridiculous.
there is
But even the play boosters, when a box is getting close to, over $200 to close to $300 for a box of.
so anyways,
of boosters.
hockey is for girls only.
Well, not always, but
Hockey's good.
there are some good women's teams out there too.
Tomorrow there is the finale of the Secret Santa event.
Yeah. That's been interesting to watch so far. I don't know. Is there still only one person who's?
Yeah, Rocher's going tomorrow, and then there's only one person that risked it.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay.
So tomorrow's the last one. Rocher's got to go, and they're gonna pick their winner.
Right.
And that person will have a choice to risk it.
Right.
And then yeah. So anyways, hockey's for girls. I'm just rereading the comment again. So there's that. We're gonna open up our gifts, everyone who's there, and show what our winners have won. And then you'll see the grand prize. It's gonna be pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, we're confident about that.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what it is because I don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a surprise for us too. So, pop my head in. Hi.
Yeah, interestingly, the only big international trip you ever took was for hockey.
Well, I
At
guess
least in
it
part,
wasn't
anyway.
really a big trip when we drove through the States. I mean, but yeah, that was my first international trip, like real international overseas.
Not just on this continent. So
yes, it was for hockey. I was not top-notch hockey player. I was okay. I was average. But we played against some women that were on the Russian Olympic team and Kazakhstan. We went to Kazakhstan. And there was a girl on our team who played for the US Olympic team. Eventually, like I don't know how she played yet or what she was going to. She did after that. So, yeah. We had a few players from the States join us on our trip, and it was fun. We had it was a good experience. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah. Apparently, the Japanese team backed out when they heard that
They
people were
thought
coming from Canada.
they thought that's what I was told. I don't know how true that is, but I was told that.
Right.
So, but we had a really good experience. We were actually closest to the girls from Kazakhstan. They were very sweet and very welcoming. The Russians didn't know what to do with us. They eventually warmed up to us a little bit. So, yeah, but no, they were. It was an interesting experience for sure.
Oh, they were told that people from Canada coming to play hockey was intimidating to one of the teams
because they thought we were the Olympic team,
right?
And we weren't.
So,
no, I don't think any of the girls in on our group even ever went that far.
I don't know. Probably. We hadn't heard of any anyway.
No.
So, but yeah, it's been interesting times, and just got to figure out what I want to do with moving forward with my Lord of the Rings collection here. I do want to make some more progress on that set one way or the other. I already have that box sitting there, so maybe one day I'll crack it and see if I can add a few things that way, or maybe I'll just buy singles and hold it. That might be the better way to go. But it is fun to open packs.
And Thursday's Boxing Day, right?
Yes.
Yes, so you're going to be working on Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh wait, but you're not working, so you're not working Wednesday though. So you wouldn't be able to be there for the live if we do it normal time, would you? Because you have to go to bed.
Probably.
So anyways, that's my vote by singles.
Yeah, that's probably the most logical way to go about it. but it's not necessarily the most fun way to go about it. So
we'll see what
we'll
happens
see.
on Thursday. What we're gonna do for
And then
Pokemon
there's
Day.
my deck ideas, which
Mm.
are equally in limbo, at least to some
Question, yes. Questions are welcome.
Since before your sun burned hot in space and before your race was born, I have awaited a question.
I don't know what that's from.
That's a Star Trek quote from The City on the Edge of Forever. So.
Harry Potter Castle or Hogwarts Express. I love castles, but Hogwarts Express is pretty cool too. I wonder what Luella would choose.
I don't know. I mean, the train seems safer in some respects, and you got quite the view because it sort of flies through the countryside. So I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
But there just seems to be a lot more to Hogwarts Castle.
Yeah.
Both on the positive side and the negative side.
That's a hard choice.
I think I'd love to explore.
What would the kids
Hogwarts
pick? Abram. He ran away.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. Ezra would probably go for the train.
Probably. Lucas and his exploring.
He likes rooms. He would like the castle.
He would like the castle. I don't know how much there is for electrical stuff there, though.
Yeah. Isabel, I don't know. It's hard to say. It is such a hard decision. Hello, Corey. Welcome in. We're just at the end of our stream.
Yeah.
We're just chatting.
Slowly wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick one.
I'd pick the Hogwarts Castle, I think.
I would too.
Especially if the grounds are included, because that's just even more stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I noticed that Hogwarts Legacy game is on sale.
Ooh.
So I haven't picked it up, but it looks
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
The thing that bugs me about it is while they seem to do a decent job on the grounds and the building, it's built based in a different time period. So there's like almost no recognizable characters. I mean, maybe some of the ghosts should be still around or something, but I don't know.
Get it on sale.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is it is on sale. So that's the other problem, though, is the only thing we really have to play it on would be the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
And it's
buy it used.
That's going to be something of a scaled down version.
Hope to catch you to ask some questions about Lord of the Rings TCG. Well, shoot, go ahead.
If you've got any questions, I don't necessarily have a whole lot of answers. I'm pretty new to the game. I just started digging into it about a year ago. So, but if I know, I can try.
Yeah.
So.
And if not, there might be somebody else who can help.
That's the other thing. We still need to dig up that list so I can go through that other binder.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Which wouldn't be something to necessarily do on stream, but
it's not the scaled down on the Switch. It's quite amazing. It's not that scaled down.
Yeah, they did a good job on porting a lot of games to the Switch, actually. It's not like I had a copy of the 3DS version
You're talking about the online
of the Lego Lord of the Rings, and that is a scaled down experience compared to
You're talking about the online things on sale, right? The online downloadable?
Yes.
Yeah.
It might be on sale in stores too, but it's not going to be as much of a discount.
If there's a used copy, that's what I mean by buy used. Yes, yeah. We understand.
Yeah. It's handy when we can find physical versions of things as opposed to
because then you can switch them from game to game.
Yeah, it's easier for different kids to pick up and play things if it's just putting in a cartridge.
Now that we have some systems fixed.
Exactly.
Is it a complicated game? Was it hard to learn?
This game, I haven't actually played yet. I've read through the pre-constructed decks and how they are supposed to work, and it seems fairly straightforward, but it would take a little practice. The outline of the game is always the same. You're trying to get your way through the 9 sites with your ring bearer still alive, and hopefully as much of your support as possible. And I think it's a well constructed little game, but it always has that same structure to it. Um, so I think it's not a game with as much variety. Games like Star Wars had more different ways you could approach things, and different objectives you could try and pull off wins by. This is some of that, and it's a nicely balanced game. Decipher was good at constructing things that fit themes, whether it was Star Trek or Star Wars or this. They all did very well in that. But they don't have the wide diversity that you saw in some other card games like Magic. So it is a fairly narrow um, approach to how the game's going to go and different strategies you can attempt to get there. But I don't think it's overly complicated, but it does require keeping track of things. Like the game is set up to play with at least two different types of counters. You need shadow counters and you need basically damage counters. So it does take some extra hardware and things like that. I'm just finding out that Lord of the Rings has a TCG. Yeah. The Towers block pre-constructed decks is something I'd recommend to try to get. They're usually the cheaper ones to find, and it'll give you a good lowdown. You get a little rule book in there. You can thumb through it. You get a deck with the both sides that would be at least functional, although not technically up to proper deck construction specs. I think you need to tweak a couple of things a little, but that's the main introduction to the game I've had. I've watched a few people play a bit, but I haven't actually built my first decks and sat down to try to play yet. That's one of the things I was sort of discussing some my ideas for how I was going to approach that on here. But again, with the idea I was hoping to work towards, I don't have a lot of the stuff for it. So I'm wondering if I should try and force it anyway or switch gears and try something else.
I'm just gonna put a link in chat here that we're gonna.
Excuse me.
I know we don't have a lot of people in chat right now, but we are gonna head over to All Blue for a raid. He is a Pokemon YouTuber. So here's a link in chat.
When I was younger, my mom watched all 3 of the movies in one go. Yeah, I used to like to do something like that and do a movie marathon too. But honestly, these are substantial movies. Like I went and crunched the numbers once, and what was it? To watch all 3 extended editions back to back, you are looking at watching like the first 6 Star Wars movies to be sort of the same sort of time commitment.
Yeah.
Or maybe the first
we should get going though.
5 of the Star Trek movies or something. Like it was, yeah, it's big just because they're big long movies, all of them. And then you got bonus features on top of that. So if you choose to do that route. So you're all set to close up shop?
I think so. If the feel free to leave questions after the stream's over. We can get back to you.
Yeah. I'll be revisiting this at some point. I just haven't decided exactly how or when yet. But I do have some more sealed, which maybe I'll open. Or if I do make a move on actually getting these decks built, I would like to try and actually play a game or two as well.
Yeah. So
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thanks for coming out. It's nice to have someone to chat with while we're doing things.
Thanks, everybody. It's been a good night. Oh, he's ending soon, so we should probably head over there, guys. Go over there, say Spokat Raid, click the link in case the redirect doesn't work. If you see the redirect go up, click go now, because sometimes it doesn't work. I'm trying. But thank you guys for hanging out. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon. Maybe Monday. Or if you join the stream tomorrow, I will put it at that as a post on our comments or our community posts page section. So
Ta for now.
bye for now.
If
Have a
you
good
know
night.
anybody who's up for a magic challenge, send them my way.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.